much for being here with us virtually for this December 14th, 2021 meeting of the Minnesota State Capitol Preservation Committee. As Vice Chair of the committee and acting chair in the governor's absence as provided in statute, I will now call this meeting to order. I determined that an in-person meeting was not practical or prudent due to the current COVID-19 health pandemic. As permitted under Chapter 12 Minnesota statutes and the open meeting laws in these conditions, this meeting will be conducted virtually. In the unlikely event that a vote would be needed, it will be conducted by roll call. Members of the public can view this meeting via live stream on the Department of Administration's YouTube channel. If you wish to be recognized during this meeting, please use the raise hand function at the top of your screen. If that fails, you can use the chat here in our Teams meeting to note this as well. But for any of the members of the public who are viewing this meeting, please limit your use of the chat to addressing technology issues or asking to be recognized so that the public there's some transparency in this meeting. The purpose of our meeting is to hear updates on the maintenance work that has occurred in the Capitol building since last year. We will also review the 2021 annual commission report, which will be submitted to the legislature in January. This is the first commission meeting for a number of you today, so I'm hoping we can begin with some brief introductions, starting with our new public commission members who were appointed in March and are attending their first meeting today. I will call on each of you in alphabetical order by last name to provide a sentence or two on your background and motivation to serve on this committee. And I believe Amber was just admitted. Is that correct, Aaron? Okay, great. Amber Annis, we are asking folks just to give a little bit of background on themselves, a sentence or two, and why you are part of this commission. Please go right ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Sorry, I'm calling in from my car. Happy everybody. I'm Amber Annis. I am the interim director of Native American initiatives at the Minnesota Historical Society. And I was so happy and honored to join this committee. Our representation at the Capitol preservation is so important and dear to us. So very nice to see all your faces. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Annis. Jack Frazier.
Hi, everyone. As our Lieutenant Governor said, I am Jack Frazier. My background is I was a history major in college, and until COVID hit, where I was unfortunately laid off, I was a historic interpreter with the Minnesota Historical Society. I now work over at the U. As to why I want to work on, or why I value this committee, is the Capitol building, having worked there, is one of the greatest examples of architecture in the state, and I believe that its story should be told through a diverse and wide set of eyes as well. It should be preserved so that future generations of Minnesotans can marvel at the past accomplishments of Minnesotans and chart their own course forward.
Wonderful. We should put that on a brochure, Mr. Frazier. Thank you very much. Nate Hood.
Hi, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I don't know how I can follow that introduction, but I'm going to try. My name is Nate. I work in community and economic development. I'm on the St. Paul Planning Commission and absolutely love and adore the Capitol area. And it's an honor to sit here and at least share some of my opinions on that. So thank you very much.
Welcome, Mr. Hood. And then finally, Mark Westfall. I think who's coming to us live from his classroom.
I am right now. Do you guys want to say hi really quick? Give a quick wave. Here's some of my students. Trying an experiment where we don't have enough substitutes right now. So my students have been briefed on what the mission is today. They know I might talk, I might not. And I'm actually projecting up part of our thing for them to see as well. This is my 13th year as a history teacher, second in South St. Paul, first 11 in St. Paul. The 2020 Gilder Lehrman American History, Institute of American History Minnesota Teacher of the Year, National Teacher of the Year finalist. Absolutely adore history and love preserving that aspect, but even more so asking questions about what history are we preserving, why, how. Absolutely excited to be a part of this panel and looking forward to our progress over the next 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Westfall, and hello, class. Thanks for joining us today. It's really an honor to have all of you in this space. So I know that this is the first commission meeting for other members as well, but I'm going to hand it over to Assistant Commissioner Campbell to call through other members who are present, and would ask that you quickly introduce yourself with your title and, where relevant, the district you represent. Assistant Commissioner, go right ahead.
All right, I'm going to go, thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I'm going to go in order that you all appear in my list here. So, Representative Carlson.
Carlson present. Hi, everybody. Representative Andrew Carlson, District 50B, which is in Bloomington. Good to see you all.
Senator Johnson.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senator Ann Johnson Stewart. I represent District 44. I'm a civil engineer and I have quite a bit of background in construction, albeit mostly heavy highway, but I'm thrilled to be on this group as well. So thank you.
Director Clapp-Smith.
Hello, I'm Merritt Clapp-Smith. I started as Executive Secretary of the Capital Area Architectural and Planning Board on July 1st, and I'm happy to be here.
Representative Erdahl.
I'm Representative Dean Erdahl. I represent District 18A, Meeker County, Litchfield, Hutchinson, Cokato, home of also Darwin, where the world's largest ball of twine made by one man is located. And my legislation created this commission.
I believe it's Chief of Staff Cassett.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donna Cassett. I'm here on behalf of Attorney General Keith Ellison, who is currently at the Board of Pardons meeting.
Chair Lee.
Hi, everyone. Chair Fu Lee, House District 59A, which is North Minneapolis.
Commissioner Harrington.
Commissioner John Harrington, Department of Public Safety. Happy to be here.
Director Whitworth.
Yes, this is Kent Whitworth, Director and CEO of the Minnesota Historical Society. And I must tell you that I am delighted to be with such a august group of passionate historians and history advocates and supporters. Thank you.
Representative Torkelson.
Hello, everyone. Paul Torkelson, State Representative, District 16B. New Ulm being the largest city in my district and Hanska being my hometown at the moment.
Commissioner Roberts Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Alice Roberts Davis, Commissioner for the Minnesota Department of Administration. Great to be with you this afternoon.
Chair Senjum.
Yeah, State Senator Dave Sender from Rochester. Been on the commission since its preservation, and even before that, going, I think, back to 2012 when we put our first 40 million into renovating the outside of the Capitol. At that point, that's where we started.
And Chair Bach. Doesn't sound like he's able to connect. And I believe that, I think we also have Senator Sandy Pappas.
Hello, everyone. I represent the Capitol and the History Center, and I'm the minority lead on the Capital Investment Committee in the State Senate.
Lieutenant Governor, I think I've got everyone. If I've missed anybody, sorry. Senator Rest.
Senator Rest was
yes,
on.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
Thank
Senator
you.
Rest. Go ahead.
Ann Rest, State Senator, District 45. I too have been on this commission since its beginning and was one of the co-authors of the legislation, as well as serving a number of years off and on the CAP board, on the Sesquicentennial Commission, and all things having to do with the Capitol. The first time we dealt with this was $100,000 floor amendment to the State Department's bill way back when Senator Don Betzold was the chair, because the building was falling apart, and we passed $100,000 amendment to start looking at and planning for the restoration of the historical parts of the Capitol. And I've been very, very pleased with the progress that we've made so far, and salute my colleagues, particularly Senator Pappas and Senator Senjum, also great enthusiasts for this project, and welcome our colleague Senator Johnson Stewart, who we are certainly going to value her perspective as well. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone else?
I do see, I believe that Senator Bach is on the line. Senator, did you want to introduce yourself?
You may not know that *6 thing. Whatever it is.
Yeah,
Am I
star
unmuted
6.
now?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Senator. Go right ahead.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm driving north. I'm pretty close to my district, actually. But Tom Bach, I represent a large piece of northeastern Minnesota, and I've been around this for a while. Was very pleased to have been the Senate's majority leader during the period of time that we renovated the Capitol. It was a marvelous position to be in for a guy that's occupation is a carpenter. So I enjoyed working with Wayne Weslowski and everyone at admin over those 4 years in the renovation. And I can just tell you, I've had the opportunity to tour a lot of state capitals. And in fact, I toured the one in Santa Fe, New Mexico last week. There is nothing like ours, not that I've seen anyway.
That's
so
right.
We all should be very proud of it and appreciate being on.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Senator Bach, and we appreciate everybody who is participating today. I'm really grateful to be able to be at this virtual table with you, and grateful, Representative Erdahl, thank you so much for reminding us where this group comes from. Your commitment to the Capitol and the legacy of the Capitol is really welcome. So thank you for that work. And if things go off the rails, I have you to hold responsible for it. Just kidding. But thank you so much. And I would like to also request that I have a deer head trophy in my next call, because Senator Senjum and Representative Torkelson, it looks as though you have two in the background. So, you know, I'll try to spruce it up the next time we get on one of these calls. But so grateful to be here with all of you and with this crew. Members, you have received a draft commission report via email from Kathy Morgan, and I'm going to call on Chris Gibbons, the Director of Facilities Management Division at the Department of Admin, to provide an overview of the report and the maintenance and preservation activities in the state Capitol building over the past year. So, Mr. Gibbons, please go right ahead.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. It is indeed my pleasure again this year to give you a latest summary of the Commission's report for 2022. So just so you know, we did post another version, a more accessible version of the report that is on the website. It was posted, I believe, yesterday morning, so the sequencing of it might be a little bit different in just one or two areas from the version that was posted, say, late last week. So just so you know that, I am going according to the accessible version that is now posted on the website. And Commissioner Campbell, do I have 10 minutes?
That's correct.
That is correct. So we will move through it. So we will start on the inside of the front cover. That's actually page 2 of the report, and it basically outlines the requirement for the report, and it lists the commission members. The commission members on the older version were on the back cover. They are now moved to the inside front cover. So that's the primary difference between the two. The rest of it does flow as it was posted last week. Moving on to page 3, you'll find the table of contents that outlines the contents of the report. Pages 4 and 5, this has a couple of sections in it, the first being the introduction section, and that outlines the commission's membership. The remainder 2 pages within that section outline the responsibilities of the commission. And of note within that section is paragraph 9 there. That is the specific requirement for this report. We've placed it in the report so the readers understand why we do that. Moving on to page 6 is where we start to talk about the current condition of the Capitol building. I'm pleased to tell you that the facility condition index, the FCI as we call it, remains at 0.03, which is in the excellent range. We've seen no significant deterioration of the building, which is to be expected. We're hoping to get a few years out of it before we really have to do a lot of work on it. On that page, you'll also find a footnote that talks about how the FCI is calculated, and statements that say that FCI is the industry standard for buildings, especially in the public sector. We have, just so you know, we have qualified assessors that go out each year and take a look at the components of that building and rate them, and they come up with the FCI rating that we've achieved. The section also outlines our role in facilities management, as we're so proud to take care of that building, and how it pertains to the surveillance that we do, the preventative maintenance that we do, and the building guidelines that we follow. It also outlines how the building has been operated over the past year. I believe over the past year, and I believe a lot of 2020, we began operating the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And we're doing that to satisfy CDC air changeover guidelines and filtration guidelines. So we're continuing to do that. So that's a notable change compared to the way the building would normally operate, which would be we would turn it off after operating hours. We turn the HVAC systems off, and when the building was uninhabited. It also summarizes briefly the events that took place around the building over the past year. We've had various stages of where DPS had been in the building, and also it talks a little bit about the 2 temporary fences that we had up over the past year. Moving on to page 7, it outlines how we did a full exterior inspection, as we do every year, and this year the assessors noted that mostly very minor deterioration that does not require immediate action. However, there was one area of more aggressive mortar deterioration in lower West Plaza, and we're going to be taking care of that in 2022 with some tuck pointing in that area. It outlines also in that section where we have deferred the 2021 requirements and we're grouping them with 2022 requirements because of the similarity of the type of work that we're going to do there, and the small scope of it. We decided that it would be more efficient from a cost standpoint and from an execution standpoint to combine those 2 years together. So you'll see that in the 5-year plan. It also talks about the current studies we have underway, and namely, it's a humidity study that was a result of the paint study. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call here, so it's a little bit annoying. I'm going to hang up on that. There we go. Sorry about that, these teams. So it talks about the humidity study, and we're also doing a door egress study on the building because we determined this over the past couple of years that the way they're programmed and the way they operate, it really does introduce some security vulnerabilities to the building. So we're looking at that. Moving on to page 8. This is a repeat of a statement we put in last year that talks about how we receive funding. It talks about how the Department of Admin receives funds to maintain and operate the buildings that it manages. It also talks about the in lieu of rent account, ILR account, that is specifically for specific areas within the Capitol building, and how important it is to maintain those funding levels for us so that we can provide the proper custodial care for the building and perform those necessary maintenance and repairs that are so important to keep it up. Also on page 9, it mentions that over time, we will have to request adjustments to the ILR to take care of those larger maintenance items that are sure to pop up, in subsequent years. And so we'll want to be able to take care of those. And so we'll ask for additional funds in ILR to be able to do that. It also talks about the need in future years, the out years, as I like to call it, for bonding requests to take care of the asset preservation type of work that's going to need to be done on the building. Moving over to page 10, it talks about this is kind of a summary of what we've done over the past year in the Capitol building. It outlines the major systems that we continually check and how we follow the capital restoration, regular maintenance activities, and budgeting information guide that was delivered to us by the contractor that did the work on the building during the restoration, J.E. Dunn. It also lists upcoming surveys and studies that we've got programmed for this year. Moving on to page 11, it summarizes the restoration funds that were received beginning back in 2012. The total funding over that year period to date has been $309.67 million. And of that, we still have a balance of $875,000 that will expire at the end of 2022 on December 31st. We did use a significant amount of the remaining funds this year for the decorative paint work that's underway, $1.3 million to be close. It's actually just shy of $1.3 million, and that's underway right now. And the page also talks about what we'd like to use the remaining money for as we progress forward through 2022. Then finally on that page towards the bottom, it lists the projects that we've completed to date that are not funded from the restoration fund. Those are internal funds through the ILR account to maintain and repair the building. Moving on to page 12, this is our 5-year maintenance plan. And as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, 2022 is a pretty big year from a volume perspective. And that's because the 2021 requirements are lumped in with that. We're just going to knock them all out this summer. That $1.628 million total for the 2022 year also includes the $1.3 million that we're using out of restoration funds for the paint study. So really the budget amount is quite a bit smaller out of the ILR account for that work. And so it lists the subsequent years worth of work that we've got that are being primarily generated from our observations, as well as the exterior inspections that we do on the building. The total through the out years or through the 5-year period is $2.15 million. Without the money for the restoration, it's $850,000. So based on all of this, on page 13, we talk about our projected funding needs, and 13 basically says that we believe we have enough money in this biennium with ILR to take care of the work that we need to do on the building. It also mentions and reemphasizes the fact that at some point in time, we will have to ask for more ILR funds to take care of those larger maintenance items that'll pop up, hopefully after year 10, which would be 2026. And also potential bonding in future years. Then finally on page 13, it talks a little bit about the Art Advisory Committee, which did not meet this year, but it will meet first quarter 2022. The exhibits were on hold because of the pandemic. They have had several submittals that were submitted back in 2020, so they're going to review those and come up with some recommendations for the commission. And that is the report. I hope I made 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gibbons. Appreciate it. Members, are there any questions? Representative Erdahl. Representative, you are on mute.
Sorry about that. I'm out of practice. I was wondering, there's been some discussion over the last few years about, especially after a bit of a flood we had in the state office building, that something be done regarding restoration, repair, whatever, of the state office building. Is there any discussion that you've had about that?
Mr. Given.
Representative Erdahl, there have been discussions about it. There has been some language that was published that talks about some security enhancements to go on in the building, and there are some actions moving forward to develop that project.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Given. But there has been some discussion. I don't know how serious so far, but of an extensive restoration. I don't know on the same par as our state capitol, but something similar. Have you been involved in any discussions along those lines?
You know, there's nothing that has been solidified. We know that the security enhancement requirement for that building is extensive, and there will certainly be alterations, collateral alterations that are going to have to go on as part of those enhancements. And so those are on the table. But there's really, there hasn't been any definitive guidelines that have been laid out at this point.
All right, thank you.
I don't know, Senator, or I don't know, Assistant Commissioner Campbell, if you have anything to add here. I know that's outside of the scope of this commission, but I do know that as a recovering House member, know that some changes would likely be welcome at the state office building.
Lieutenant Governor and Representative Erdahl, the Department of Administration has long had an interest in improving upon the existing state office building, and as you know, has had a number of requests through the capital budget process to make those improvements. In the last legislative session, there was some language passed, and actually I saw that Commissioner Roberts Davis's hand was up, and I know that she was more involved in those discussions, so she might be best equipped to provide an assessment of what might happen as a result of that legislative language change and other projects that might have to follow.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you're doing just fine, Assistant Commissioner Campbell. I was just going to add that I think that Chris had it exactly right. We do have to do a lot of security work within the building, but I think that that's also going to lead to some programming changes within the building as well. And so it's actually a lot more comprehensive changes that need to happen to that building to make it functional from a security perspective. And so as we continue to look at how we want to pursue pre-design, there'll be a lot of work that has to be forthcoming before we nail down exactly what will happen in that building for an overall renovation of the overall building. I don't think it will be anything nearly as comprehensive as what we saw at the Capitol, because that was both obviously an internal and external renovation of the building. This one would obviously be just internal to the state office building.
Thank you. And I know that there are ongoing conversations about the state office building. There's conversations happening in the Capital Area Security Committee as well. So I think we can have a bit of follow up on those, but I want to redirect us to focus on the Capitol building now, if we may. Senator Senjum, go right ahead. You are on mute, Senator Senjum.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Lieutenant Governor. Mr. Gubin.
Yes, sir.
I have just a general question. You don't need to recite the number because I don't expect you to know it, but the citizens of Minnesota have basically provided almost like a new capital, as new as it can be, at least. Just from the standpoint of talking to the legislators here, do we supply you with the kind of preventive maintenance budget that ought to have going forward to keep it as new as possible for as long as we can? Or are we a little stingy on that? And do you have enough staff to really keep the building up the way it ought to be kept up? Sort of a star-studded way. You probably never do, but now's your chance to answer.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Senator Senjum, for that question. As of right now, yes. As I mentioned in the outline, in this biennium, we have enough money based on what we are seeing and what our consultants are seeing in the building to take adequate care of it, based on the guidelines that were delivered by the people that restored it. That will change. Again, after a major renovation like this, we're hoping to get 10 to 15 years before we have to start doing some wholesale repairs or major repairs on the building. So there will come a time where I'll have to stand up and say, we just don't have enough money. From a staffing standpoint, we are staffed. We have 13 general maintenance workers that work in the building. And they've been there throughout, as well as a maintenance engineer, plus our trades. We are only about 60% staff because of labor shortages. We're suffering like everyone else is, that we have a lot of vacancies. But because of the pandemic, we've been able to accommodate that. We are still doing the full disinfection and things of that nature, but there's not quite as much trash to haul, so it's balancing itself out. But when we come back full up, we're beating the bushes to try to find people to work with us. But right now, yes, sir, we have enough.
Appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator. I'm going to continue to move us along. I'm trying to make sure here that I'm not missing anyone else in the chat. Hand raised. Oh, Mr. Westfall, go right ahead.
I was just hoping to get a little clarification on, we mentioned earlier the CDC requirements of turning the ventilation system on 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. Is that putting any extra strain on the budget that we already had to run that anymore? Or do we anticipate that the system in the next year or two, if we have to keep it on for that long, is going to require any additional maintenance at this time? Or is that something we just keep an eye on in the future?
We haven't seen a significant, other than say filter changes, and we have all direct drive units there, no belts to change or anything like that. I mean, we are performing slightly more frequent preventative maintenance. We are using more energy in the building. We're using 11% more energy now because we're running those fans. And when the fans are running, the air needs to be tempered, whether it's heating or cooling. So we're using quite a bit more hot and cold water to chill and heat the systems. We're introducing as much outside air in that building. That's all part of the CDC guideline, is move as much air as you can and bring as much fresh air in as you can. Of course, we're limited by outside climate or temperature. When it's really, really cold, we just can't let a lot of cold air in because we'll freeze the coils. But right now, I'm certain, there's only so many turns in a fan before it fails. So they're probably going to run out a little bit faster than they would have otherwise. But that's yet to be determined. Again, those fans will probably last 15 to 20 years before we need to replace them under normal use.
All right, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Westfall. I also had that question. So we'll just continue to monitor. Thank you so much, Mr. Givens. So I'm going to continue to move us along to our next agenda item, which is an update on decorative painting in the State Capitol building. Mr. Givens, back to you. It's the Chris Givens show today.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we'll keep this one nice and short too because we're running late. So we talked last year about a decorative paint study that we did, and certainly we completed that. And this is not something that's an anomaly. We knew when we restored the building that within a few years we're going to have to come back and take care of the paint. Paint deterioration is just a normal part of building aging, especially in a building like this where you've got stone construction with plaster and then paint. There's just a lot of elements there, expansion, contraction, et cetera. So it's normal for paint to distress. We did a restoration of the paint back in 2016 and before. We're doing another one now, and probably 5 or 6 years from now, we'll need to do it. So we shouldn't be alarmed that, oh, the paint's all falling off. It's not. We're just taking care of it where it is becoming distressed. We started doing the work in the build. We hired a John Canning company out of Cheshire, Connecticut. They're conservators. They started back in October. The cost of the project, as mentioned earlier, is $1.3 million. The plaster and paint distress, failures, whatever you want to call it, occurs because of several reasons. Water infiltration, or migration in the building from either old roof leaks or window leaks, vibration of the building, vapor transmission in the way of humidity. Expansion and contraction is a big one in that building. Dirt buildup, and then previous efforts to take care of the paint. So all of those things over the years cause this type of thing to happen. And most of them have been mitigated through the restoration and things before that. But the residual deterioration could still be occurring, and it's manifesting itself now, and it may continue to manifest itself. There are some external factors that we'll never get rid of. The plow trucks are still going to run up and down Cedar Street in the wintertime, and there's a lot of vibration that goes along with that. There's a lot of vibration that goes along with several hundred people in the rotunda, both from a weight standpoint and a noise standpoint. So those will continue. So in a building like this, we can expect this to continue. So I just wanted to kind of put some context around why we're doing this and the need to continue it in future years. The failure is basically shown up in a couple of different forms: delamination of the plaster to the stone, and delamination of the paint to the plaster and the paint within paint layers, if there are multiple paint layers on there, which is normal. The failures will manifest themselves as dulling, cracking, what they call tenting. That's where you see a lot of cracks and then it's starting to pull away from the surface of the wall. And so it's uneven. There's also flaking and also some paint loss. So the conservators are in there now working around the building, and they're doing a couple of different things, several different things actually. It's really quite amazing to restore that. So they're using an adhesive to reattach plaster that has not fallen away from the underlying lath or brickwork. They're doing the same type of thing for the paint. If there have been some paint layers that are pulling apart, they're reattaching that. They're infilling areas of plaster loss and paint loss. They're repairing the gilded works. And then in some places, they're putting a clear varnish to protect the paint where it's needed on the lower levels. Works occurring in all wings, on all floors in the decorative paint areas. They're currently working on the second floor. They've completed the ground, basement, and third floors. They're down on 2. They're going to work until session starts. Then they're going to stop. They'll start back up in May and be done in June. So you'll see the scaffolding and whatnot until session. Then we'll pack it all away. It'll be quiet during session. They'll start back up. So we hope to have everything done by July. And that's really all I have. It's pretty cool. These people know their paint, and they can match it, and they mix it, and they fix it right there.
That's great. Thank you so much for that update. We will now turn to some additional updates on the operations in the State Capitol building from the Department of Admin from Commissioner Roberts Davis. Commissioner, go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few updates. The Capitol has been through a number of changes in the last year based on the ever-evolving COVID-19 situation, remote work environments, and security concerns. I just wanted to update you on where things are and where we expect them to be headed in the next few weeks. First, the Capitol hours of operation. The State Capitol building is open to the public Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. The Capitol remains locked on Saturdays and Sundays. Minnesota Historical Society tours are available Monday through Friday between 10 and 2 p.m. hourly, but we are continuing to evaluate the building on weekends and expect to make adjustments to that with the Minnesota Historical Society tour program. And this situation remains fluid. We expect to hopefully be offering weekend access as early as the spring. As it relates to masking requirements, all state employees are required to wear masks in the workplace. And so our general maintenance workers, for example, are wearing masks, but members of the public, regardless of whether they are vaccinated or not, are strongly encouraged to wear a face covering in the Capitol. They are not required. We do have a room reservation availability within the Capitol again. We're pleased that they are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And bookings are available in 30-minute increments for up to 3 hours. Rooms that are available include the Cass Gilbert Library on the 3rd floor, which holds 24 people. And then there are 4 conference rooms on the 3rd floor that hold between 4 and 60 people. So lots of variable spaces available. And then the conference room G20A holds 10 people. So if you're looking for a place to hold a meeting, the Capitol is always an option. Finally, we are very excited about the Nelly Stone Johnson Memorial. Minnesota is just on the precipice of being the first state capital in the country to have a Black woman statue in our Capitol building. And so we at the Department of Administration are working very closely with the stakeholder group and the artist to resolve the final issues that remain in order to get the statue complete and into the Capitol building. And so when she is finished, she will be placed in the North Hall in an alcove, and there will be a big celebration when she arrives. We are so proud to be the facilitators and the maintenance keepers and the owners of the state capitol. If there are ever any issues or any concerns that you have with the state capitol building, please reach out to us here at admin, and we're happy to help and make sure that the building is everything that you expect it to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I am so excited to welcome Nelly Stone Johnson to the Capitol, and I'm a little horrified that she will be the first in a state capitol in the entire country. So we have work to do. So members, this concludes our agenda for today. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take those now. Comments or snide remarks are also an option. Well, with that, thank you so much to all of our new members who joined us today. We're very excited to have you. I hope, Mr. Westfall, your class was just on the edge of their seats the whole time with this exciting glimpse into government. But this is important work, and this is a work to really to maintain and care for what is the people's house, and it belongs to all of them as well. So we are grateful that they were able to join us virtually.
I'm excited as well. What you guys didn't notice is we actually had a class change about almost 17 minutes ago, and now we have new students in the classroom. If you guys want to give a wave, they have done a tremendous job of being just prepared, punctual, polite, and so I appreciate them, and I appreciate the committee letting me do it from this location as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I anticipate that our next meeting, perhaps will be earlier in 2022, and we will review the recommendations from the Capitol Art Exhibit Advisory Committee on placements in the 3rd floor gallery space. So with that, so lovely to see all of your faces on screen. Please have a happy and healthy holiday season, and just Happy New Year, everyone. We are adjourned. Thank you so much.